What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Chae Cole, and we're back with another episode. So let's hop into it. We've kind of been in this series about being ready for more in 2024, and we've matriculated through being ready for more, pursuing more purely, right? Stewarding more. And this time we're going to kind of take a step back about to really the beginning of this, and it's discerning more, but it's really from a place of answering the question, well, how do I know if I'm ready for more? How do I determine if I can handle more? I have grown to a place where I'm ready for my capacity to increase in whatever it is, right? I'm ready to take my business to the next level. I'm ready to go to the next level within ministry or pursue another degree or whatever the case may be. I'm ready for more. I'm ready to date again. I'm ready to believe I know Valentine's Day is around the corner, so I know y'all excited and anxious about that one. But how do I know? How do I discern? How do I determine if I'm ready for more? And here's the thing when it comes to determining if you're ready for more, the honest truth, the best answer I can supply to you is you're actually never going to know, or if you wait until you're ready, you'll never begin. You'll never start. You'll never accept it, even after you've moved in the spirit, even after you've excelled to certain levels within your career, within business, within entrepreneurship, within your creative endeavors. You'll always look and see and say, what is happening right now? Not me, right? If you're approaching it from a pure and humble place, how did I even get here? I'll just look back and it's like, wow, I'm here. I'm at this place. I've arrived at this place that I had no idea. I had never envisioned that I would be here, to this level, to this measure. I didn't see myself in this position. I didn't see myself in this posture. And so how do I determine if I'm even ready? And like I said, you'll never honestly be ready. There are still times where I wrestle with the call that's on my life, or how do I know that this is what God you want me to do, or all these different things. I have all these questions, and we have to be careful with that, because the enemy will creep in and suggest to you, did God really say? Did God really tell you to do this thing? Did God really say, step out and do this creative venture? Because there's so many things that are speaking to us and trying to get us in a place of doubt, in a place of lack, in a place of I'm not ready, I'm not equipped, I'm not qualified. So how do I determine if I'm ready? And I'm really going to go back to something that I mentioned to you all in a previous episode. It's pay attention to the burdens that God gives. And what I mean by that, there's a kingdom burden. There's a kingdom burden that God places inside of us to achieve, to answer certain gaps, certain things that may take place, that may occur within our lives, within the ministries that we serve at, within our careers, within our families. All of these things, there's something that you're wired to solve. And so you have to pay attention to the burdens. You have to pay attention to not only the burdens, but also the course of your life, and how your life is moving, and how what areas seem to come across your path. What solutions do people tend to call on you for? What things? And you have to be careful with that too, especially for I'm thinking about some gifted and talented people that I know, that you're just like a Swiss Army knife. You can do some of everything. You got a music gift, you got a speaking gift, you got all these different, you can do some of everything, right? And you're like, well, how do I determine which route do I go? how do I determine if I'm supposed to pursue this, if I'm supposed to pursue that, right? I think there is a place for you to work on each of those crafts and still be gifted in each. But I think that takes an intentionality within prayer, within fasting to determine, as well as which one, maybe not, it isn't always the one that you enjoy the most, but which one is it that you kind of gravitate towards more, if that makes sense. And that may be challenging because you're like, I enjoy this, I enjoy that. But which one do you gravitate towards the most, right? That's one way to determine that. Do you truly enjoy that? Or is it because people have told you that you're good at it, right? Or people enjoy you doing that, and so they're only able to see you through that lens of when you hop on the drums or when you hop on the keys, but you're not inclined to want to pursue music or pursue this thing, just using that as an example, right? So I really have to sit with and ask myself, which gift, which thing do I feel myself more like I do it almost with an ease. Like it may take time, it may be strenuous at times, but I can do this in my sleep type of thing, right? And there's sometimes that we also have to be careful with that, because which one do you feel the presence of God whenever you begin to operate and do that thing, or operate in that gift, or work on that venture? Which one do you feel the presence of God? Like there's certain things that I do, certain things that I create, or when I start talking about certain subjects, there's a shift that takes place to where I'm like, oh, I feel the presence of God through this conversation, through talking about God, through talking about, this specific area or doing this specific thing. Like I can do this because there's a grace that it comes with this. Remember, grace is also not just the saving grace that we love to talk about and that we have an understanding of, but grace is also the ability to do. So what has God graced you for, right? And also, even with that, you have to discern when the grace has lifted, because some of us are sent places to solve certain issues only for a season. And when grace has lifted, then that's when you start to become tired, when you start to become burnt out from doing this thing. And some of you can point to some relationships where the grace was lifted, and so they weren't even cute no more. They didn't even say the right things anymore because grace has lifted. And so that's a whole nother subject. But what I want to really hone in on about, how do I discern it that I'm ready for more? And I want to talk to some people that are like, I've been in this season. I've been here for a minute. I've been just kind of going through the motions. Maybe I've been content. I've been content with where I'm at. And, I didn't even think that I would be here. And the grace of God has just been on my life. And I just see how God is working in and through me here. But I've kind of hit this plateau, if you will, where I'm content. So how do I discern if I'm ready for more? And one thing I want to encourage you is that godliness does require contentment, but contentment doesn't mean become complacent, right? And so we have to understand that just because I'm in a season of I understand the flow. I understand the rhythm. I understand. So I'll give a personal example of this. Like I'm in my job currently, I'm ready for something else. I'm ready for something. I'm ready for more, right? Because I've been in this position. I've been in this role for some time now. And it's like, I just kind of coast. And if I'm not careful, I'll get here and I'll plateau. I'll just stay and I'll just do the job. I'll go to work, get my paycheck, and do all these things without pursuing more, without pursuing a challenge in my career that will help grow me, that will help cultivate where I see myself going, right? And present new challenges, new opportunities, even to grow in the skill sets that I've developed, that I've cultivated, right? In leadership and leadership development and all these other things. So I'm kind of like, I'm ready for something else, right? And so you got to pay attention to those things. So maybe you're in this place in space where it's like, I've gotten into the rhythm of things. I gotten into the flow. I gotten into the cadence. And it's like, I need a new challenge. I'm not challenged in where I'm at right now. And I'm not challenged in this position. I'm not challenged in business. And I'm looking for new opportunities. I'm looking for new products, new services. I'm looking to step outside of my comfort zone, because to be ready for more is saying I'm ready for a new challenge, as I mentioned, but I'm also ready to step outside my comfort zone. I'm ready to experience something that I might not have seen before. I might not have been equipped for. And so in this, I want you to understand that even when you look throughout the Bible, now this is a revelation that I received when talking about a kingdom burden. But when you think about any of the people that are described and that we read about in the Bible, everything that they did, everything that they that we read about that was great, that was marvelous, that even was challenging at times, it started with a burden. And so that's why I said, pay attention to what burdens you, because the burden isn't that you would become weighed down by this thing. It's also that you would understand that God may be asking you to be a solution for the burden, that he may be gracing you to address the burden, right? And so when you look at, even if you run from the burden, come on, Jonah. He ran from the burden that God had placed on him, that the call that God had on us. He ran from it, right? Nehemiah had a burden that grieved him, right? He looked over, he saw his city. He was like, well, what's going on? And it grieved him, right? Or check this out. The disciples, their burden started with an invitation. And we're going to talk about that later, because I want to share a word on the power of an invitation. But it started with an invitation. And so pay attention to who pulls you into certain rooms and pulls you into certain conversations and pulls you into certain opportunities to grow and to develop. That may be God saying you're ready for more. Somebody may look and say, hey, I see you have this skill set. I see you have this desire. I see you have this kind of grace or this certain flow or certain cadence, and I want to help you cultivate it. Remember, I talked about not criticizing, but help cultivating it. So I believe that, and I was reading this book that was talking about the call to preach and stuff like that. And it was like, one of the ways that you'll notice is, or know, or sense a call to minister, to preach, is someone will give you an opportunity, or someone will start to develop you or train you, right? Someone will come into your life and they'll start to train, and they'll start to help you craft this skill, right? And so it's the same thing. It's like, pay attention to what rooms, what conversations, and what people start to pull on you or ask you certain questions, or start to ask you to come along with them and take advantage of those things. And so here we go. I want to give some scripture, because this is the Cold Therapy Podcast, and it's a proverb, right? And so I made some references to some people, right? When you look at Nehemiah, you can just read Nehemiah and see the burden that he had on his life, man. I love that story. It reminds me so much of myself. But I want to read to you Proverbs chapter 4, verse 26. And this is the New King James Version. It says, ponder the path of your feet and let all your ways be established. When I read that scripture, it immediately resonated with this episode and in talking about discerning what is happening. It says, ponder the path of your feet. So ponder the steps that you have taken. Ponder the route that God has you on. Ponder the things that are happening as you go about this journey, as you go about your spiritual journey, as you go about your journey in business, as you go about your journey in your career, in your faith, in just life. Ponder the path at your feet. Ponder what is taking place around me. What conversations do I find myself in? Ponder the path of your feet and let all your ways be established, right? We know that the Bible also mentions that the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, right? And then it also tells us that when we commit our way to him, he establishes the plan, right? And so now we see here in Proverbs 4, verse 26, it says, and let all your ways be established. When you ponder the path at your feet, when you ponder the path of your feet, and let all your ways be established. It's saying, Lord, where are you leading me? Where are you guiding me? That is what I want you to pay attention to when you're discerning. Are you ready for more? And what is that more? What is that you're calling me to? Ponder the path at your, what things are you placing inside of my life? What opportunities, what routes are you taking me? What things are you showing me? Right? And I'm going to share this, and then we're going to end the episode. But when I began to ponder the path at my feet, and this was some years ago, I started to retrace and recalculate some things in how, my ministering journey, call therapy journey, right? Starting this podcast, doing words of encouragement, speaking. I started to ponder the path at my feet. And what happened is I started to reflect on different opportunities that I got and different ways that the Lord was showing me that this is where you're called to, or this is how I'm going to use you. Because I remember one of my earliest moments in ministry, if you will, is being voted the FCA captain in middle school in 8th grade. And at the time, y'all, I was not going to church on the regular, but I played basketball. I believed in God. I said I was a Christian, but I wasn't going to church, right? And I got voted FCA captain. And I had to lead us in discussions, in devotionals for our FCA club, right? And I'm like, man, that's crazy. And then throughout high school, people would come to me for advice, and I would be giving them scripture, y'all, and I didn't even know that it was a scripture. I didn't even know it was a verse. I'd be giving them advice, and the principles are in the text, and I didn't even know it, right? And so when you look at what I do now, in terms of ministering, in terms of this podcast, in terms of helping people understand and come to know God and overcome life every day, right? It's like the path at my feet was always, hey, I've given you a gift to read, to understand, to lead people in their journey to know me, in their journey with me, right? And so while mine was more reflective in this sense, even today I pondered the path. Lord, you've placed a burden on me for these things. What does this mean? And then surely enough, as I pray into those things, as I consider, where he leads me in the text and what things I find myself gravitating towards, opportunities start to arise. Challenges start to come that I'm like, Lord, you showed me this. We talked about this specific thing. We talked about this specific issue within the church or within my friends, within my peers, and I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to experience it. So Lord, when I ponder the path at my feet, I see that you're establishing the plan there because you're supposed to address this. You're supposed to be the one to correct. And so oftentimes we start to run from what God is calling us to. We start to try to avoid it because it gets hard, because it gets difficult, because it gets tough, because Lord, you can't be calling me towards that. Look at Moses. He had a burden, right? The Lord spoke to him. He had a burden, but he tried to go at his burden with excuses. Who am I to go speak? And that's the same thing that we do. We run from the burdens. We run from these areas because we don't think that we're gifted, because we don't think that we're called, because we don't think that we're qualified. And everyone that the Lord used in the Bible was not qualified. The Bible tells us that in our weakness, his strength is made perfect. So we have to get over ourselves. Faith begins at the end of myself. To know that it's not about me, right? Going back to pursuing more purely, it's not about me. It's not about what Chae can do. It's not about what you can do. It's about, Lord, what do you want to do through me, in and through me, for your glory, for your sake. So that's going to do it for this episode. I hope that this challenged you to consider the path at your feet. Where's God calling you? What burdens do you have? What answers and solutions is he giving you to bring to the earth? That's all a business is. It solves a problem, right? There was a burden that a business person had, and so they began to solve a problem. It's the same thing for us in ministry. It's the same thing as creatives. There's a burden to create content that people would enjoy, that maybe people would learn something, or that you would share your expertise. There's a burden to share the expertise. Right? So consider those things. Consider the path at your feet and pay attention to those signs. Don't just stay content and become complacent, but be content, but also pressing forward. So that's going to do it for this episode. I hope that this episode encouraged you, inspired you to seek God, to pray into where God is leading you, what he wants you to do, what he wants you to accomplish in 2024, even if you've already done your vision board, right? Lord, what do you want me to do? So as always, I appreciate everyone who tunes in. Thank you so much for your support in any way, shape, or form. Every like, every comment, every view, everything, every share, all of it. I appreciate it. And so, as always, make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast on whatever podcasting platform you're listening to it on. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a comment if you would. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Threads, all the social media platforms at Cole Therapy. And yeah, that's going to do it for this episode. Until next time, I am your host, Chae Cole. Peace.